Hello, this is Jon Speelman on, I'm doing this on the 2nd of August, but this is for August the 3rd, and it is my monthly column for Chess Space. It's column 230, and I am calling it, let me just get over to where it is, a bit blinded today. I'm calling it Georgian Castles and Episcopal Rulings, which is not two rather bad puns put together. Anyway, it's a couple of rook endings from Batumi in Georgia, the Women's World Cup, and then a couple of games in which bishops have done their things along diagonals, with the help of queens, in fact. And okay, so I'm starting off with this diagram, and the question, you can see it better than me, I'm imagining, sadly. And should white play b7? So the thing is, if you can play b7, you stop the black king from moving out of the box on g7 and h7. Because if it goes to f6, you have rook f8 check, and if it goes to f7, you have rook h8. Rook takes pawn, rook checks with a skewer. So if you can play b7 and find a way to win, then that's absolutely clean. There's not going to be a problem of any sort. It's just going to happen. But it may or may not be winning. And you could look at this diagram, and then the next diagram is this one, which is a position you can force fairly easily after playing b7. You play f4, he has to take it, or the pawn just pushes up the board. You block with f3. If you're pinned, you bring your king to g4 and do that. If he's pinned you with the rook and b2 when you play f4, it doesn't matter, you still do this. Then you get your king round to e5, and in this position, can you find a win? And the answer, which I'll come to in a moment, is to play king d6, and then you can't check the king because then he builds support the b pawn, and when the rook goes away you have just rook e8, rook takes pawn, rook e7 check. And then the next one is here, black to play, can he defend this position? So here white has played, earlier on he exchanged on g5. Does white have a threat? Well, yes, he does. He's threatening to get the position king e6 against rook b5, king g7 with black to move, at which point black would have to move the rook away somewhere. You'd play king f5, you'd get in king g4, and then you'd get in the move f4. Pawn takes pawn, king takes pawn, move the king away, push the f-pawn and win. And the only move to stop that is rook f1. White can still play f4, but he can't win the f-pawn then. And the problem is that without the two h-pawns, you can still do the same thing of forcing a pawn ending, but without the h-pawns it's just a draw. So that's that. Then I had two more questions. This is a position from the game Alan Merry against Shreyas Royal in the English Championship in Warwick. The British is starting today as I speak on the 2nd in Liverpool. It was won by Michael Adams, the English Championship. This is Shreyas as black, and he's just played queen a8 to f3. And the first question is, what happened after bishop f4? What did black play? Which was a strong move, though the game did continue afterwards. I mean, I think probably Alan Merry intended to lose his queen, which is what happened, because he thought that otherwise it would be even worse. And the other question is, are there any other moves apart from bishop f4? And there are actually a couple of things you can do. One is to play knight c3, pawn takes knight, bishop b3. You can't go bishop b3 at once because the bishop takes bishop, pawn takes bishop, queen f1 mate. And the other is to play queen d2, with the idea of playing queen e1, and then after you've gone queen e1, kicking out the black queen with knight d2, or maybe playing bishop e3. And Well, they're very interesting, and I've analysed them. And then finally, final question is in this diagram. This is a game of mine against Humpy Kineru. I was looking at the final and I was talking to somebody about it in a lesson, and I said, oh, I had a good game against Humpy 20 years ago. It was 23 actually. And I dug it out, not very hard, obviously, with how you can put a search mask in your own database nowadays. And the question is, after bishop a3, knight b4, sorry, this should be knight b4, and I'm just going to save this. Can you see my idea? And we'll come to that in the PGN file. So let's go to the PGN now and see what gives. So it is in ChessBase, and I've cunningly put it at the bottom of my ridiculous window of databases. And the way you put it at the bottom is you just delete it and open it again. I don't think you can move a database to the bottom, or at least if you can. No, you can't. You can't move a database in the window, so you have to delete it and open it, and it opens at the bottom of the screen, which is convenient in this case. So the first one, here we are, we get to this ending. White's already played h4, h5, and should she play b7? And I've given you the answer really already. She played rook b7 check, but she should have gone b7. Must play f3 now. If you don't, then black is in time to play f3 check. And the problem with that is that when white brings the king up, you only have to keep the king on the rook on b3 when the king's in e4. And when the king goes up, you have time to go rook b1 and check from c1 and b1. Or indeed, I think you can just check from c3 and b3 as well. So you have to do this. Then you poddle around until you get the king to e5. Then you go king d6. If he checks either way, then you can support the b pawn and just win. So rook b6 check, king c7, or rook d4 check, king c5, I don't know, rook d7. You can even just go king c6 and move the rook. Complete disaster. So you go here, and now you play this fine move. Rook takes pawn, check, takes, and the ending is basically trivial, and I gave. I think I was I showing somebody how to triangulate? Yeah, I was showing somebody how to triangulate. This would only, this is a draw, by the way, this one. Oh no, this is winning, sorry. So you can go king f5 as well. And you, otherwise you go into the thing where you triangulate with the pawn. You have to go back like a triangle, and then it's black to move. And then you win. So basically, I was reminding somebody how to triangulate, not showing them really. And so anyway, you can also just go and take the h pawn. So this is winning. I could just give the what actually happened after rook b7 check. I mean, what I did was I didn't actually try to work it out. I thought, sod it. I've got an engine. I shall ask the bloody thing. And yeah, this is not very intelligent. Now, actually, b7 would still win here, wouldn't it? Still win in this position, but she didn't realise that b7 was winning, and there was a great faffing around. She played really well, Divya Deshmukh, but this rook ending wasn't particularly impressive. That's a mistake, and actually it's now a draw, interestingly. If you do this right. Oh no, I think it's still winning, is it? I think it's still drawing. Wait a minute, where is this winning line? Here's the drawing line. Rook c7. Yeah, king f5. You don't need to. You just stop the king coming up. All this stuff. You just have to go. You can go rook c7 as well. Check here, here, check, back, and then you bring your king up, threatening to enter. Then you bring it back, and this is just a drawn pawn ending. You're not in time, so this is a draw. But she won in the end. I mean, it's just a shame she wasn't a bit more. The final bit, actually, she did very well. I mean, you can go and take the rook, of course, but then you queen the pawn. Cut, king off. And now this move. Excellent move, rook g5, because now if h4 you play king b6, then you can't stop rook b5. So you had to go here. And you're just in time. And she resigned because after h3, king e4, h2, rook b1, it's trivial. So, interesting ending, but she could have been much more clinical. So then I gave, oh, this position, that's right. And rook b1 is the only move. You go rook b1, king g3, rook b4. And white can play f4 if she wants, but then she gets to a drawn pawn ending. So this would actually have been a way to draw in this position. No, it's not. Rook b1. Then I gave the ending. We got to this position. I didn't analyse it. It was quite an interesting Catalan, actually. And here I said, well, I might have played rook e6 here, actually. And if you go rook e6, there's this. Take, 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 check, here, here. Here, I think is probably the right thing to do. So this ending, of course the engine says, oh, it's equal. And it is, but in a certain sense, but it's also extremely unpleasant to defend by white, and I knew that there was an ending with this exact pawn structure, which was in Averbach's book on endings. I couldn't remember who it was, of course, but I managed to find queen endings in my shelf without too much difficulty. It's just, I mean, I have them all in the same bit of shelf. It's just finding which one is which. In a slightly dark area of the room, and anyway, I found it, and that ending, which is Chocolatier against Unziker, somewhere 1956, is it Moscow maybe? I've appended as a separate thing, but she actually went here, here. So if you leave the rook on f5, it's not going to be so easy because Bletz. So she did take, and now I mean, actually it appears you can go just f3 and g4 and set up a passed h pawn, and that should be okay, apparently, which is not at all obvious to me. What happened was that f4 happened, and Canary blundered with rook f4. Apparently pawn takes pawn is a draw, and king e4 looks like the easiest, probably. After king e4 you got to take, you put the king somewhere sensible, and you're going to have the moves to attack the h5 pawn before the black king gets over. This was a mistake, and this is basically completely lost. But again, she was a little bit, that's a good move, she was a little bit inefficient here, Deshmukh. She should just have gone rook f3. I know it's not trivial, but let's look at it. Rook f3, rook takes pawn, king to there. King to there is the best you can do. Rook to there. And the best you can do is to go there. If you go here, then you go rook to there. and you get to play king takes pawn, and it's not going to be difficult. So you go king e5, pawn to there, king to there, but now you're in time to go just rook b3. And this is quite simple. Rook takes pawn, you win the rook, obviously, and otherwise you can play f3 and then it's simple. So that would have been easier, because actually there was a moment in this ending when it was drawn. I mean, allowing g4 is pretty silly, really. I know she was under enormous stress, of course. I believe f5's a mistake. You should go king e4. I mean, doing things like that under this much pressure is really hard. So I don't blame her at all. I just think it's a little bit of a shame that she... So king e4 apparently is the right move. I assume it goes h7, rook takes pawn, f5 or something, and then you can bring your pawn up and presumably take the h-pawn at some moment and win. But I mean, okay, because the thing is, in this position apparently king e5 draws, which is absolutely well, isn't that surprising, I suppose. Check here, here. And that is a draw. But she went h7 and Deshmukh won the tournament. A very impressive breakout tournament for her. She was an IM before the tournament. She's now Grandmaster and in the candidates. Well done. Bravo, as I said. Here's this ending. I haven't actually even played through this game. Actually, let's just play through it, see what happened. I think I did very, very quickly. So it is Chocolatier Unziker, Alcan Memorial, Moscow, 1956. I was exactly 4 weeks old when this game was played. Interesting, he's allowed the bishop to be exchanged on b3 anyway. On they toddled. I'm not even trying remotely to understand this game. Just, okay, you'd have thought this would have been quite okay for black at this stage, but something happens. Yeah, it's all got a bit. Oh, it is good for black. Sorry, I'm talking crap. I'm talking utter bollocks, excuse me. So this happened. You're a tempo short, so could have got Queen A2 as well, I suppose, doesn't matter. And here we are, this ending. And we carry on. Long way through, very slowly getting the king up the board. Torture for white. Black, you know, the king didn't get out, so he resets and starts again. And off we go again. Very jolly. No checks at this moment. Okay, we've got the king very far up the board now. And apparently the moment that this becomes losing is still okay. I'm sorry, these notes, basically I got to this position. I didn't even follow. I didn't change the notes by Valery Chekhov. And in this position, Queen A1 was the only move. By now it's got really, really critical. Presumably so that you can play King F2, Queen G1 check. But now... very unfortunate. Oh yeah, of course. And now a clever little thing. Check here, Queen to there. Clever little stalemate trick, but black just plays f4, sadly for white. And so white resigns because the pawn ending is completely lost. So, I mean, all I'm saying is that I would have considered going to this ending because I knew this ending existed. I didn't know how winning or otherwise it was, and obviously it isn't winning with best defence. This is Shreyas. This is... Shall we turn it around? We'll leave it. This is a Catalan, just a normal Catalan. Yeah, some people play Queen A4 nowadays to stop B5, which is used to be thought to be bonkers, but now is thought to be perfectly played. Knight E5, Queen D4 is pretty dangerous exchange sacrifice. So I think that's the first time I've faced this. That's what happened to me. This is all okay, I think. Did I suggest something? This might be okay. Bishop takes and rook takes would be mad because of the white squares. And here, just take, knight d2 is a decent way to play. I mean, it's absolutely playable for black, but it's also absolutely playable for white. And quite a sensible thing to do, I would say, actually. Really not silly to, you know, because now he played, but I mean, you want to play the main line. It looks like a good move, doesn't it? Bishop a6, it's slammed. Take. By now you're getting close to being committed. He takes, queen to there. And suddenly white is under a withering attack from the queen and the bishops. And as I said, he played bishop f4. Knight c3, pawn... You can't play bishop b3 because of takes, queen f1 mate. You can do this. Knight c3, by the way, control e2 and so stop bishop e2. This is a possible way to play. I must say I don't like it very much. There are various lines. I mean, there's stuff like this, or there are some other ways to play it. It's supposed to be playable for white, but I'd be scared. And the move that you should really do, if you see it, is queen d2, which threatens to play queen e1, then get rid of the bloody queen. And there are a couple of ways to play. h5 is not a good move, actually. Really, is that the one I... let's promote variation. Sorry, that isn't what I wanted. And I want to go back again and see h5, and I want to move this up because it's really... h5 is pretty silly. Well, I mean, it just doesn't work. h5, queen e1, d2, and you get kicked around. So you don't do that. There's rook c8 and there's f6. Rook c8, knight a3, so that stops bishop f2 check, b4, and now there's some funny moves. There's the ridiculous move bishop f1. King takes bishop is necessary. Well, rook, there are two lines. Rook d8 check. This is at least equal, obviously, because you're going to get to play bishop b4 as well as queen b4. So this, I can't remember what it actually assesses it as. I don't care that much. It's rook d8 check is probably wrong. And you can just make a draw by perpetual check. If you do this, then there's bishop b4, it's slam. So there are ways to lose. But going back, the best, so after queen to there, sorry, queen d2, I think the easiest move actually is f6. To open the f file, queen e1, queen c6, exclam. Hitting the rook, rook a7, and now the splendid move bishop f2 check. Have to take it, have to go here. It's a beautiful move, isn't it? Great move. And the best is rook takes pawn check. I don't know if queen takes, presumably queen d6 check first, and take the knight and just carry on attacking. Must be a disaster. Okay, so takes. If king takes, you play queen e5 check and rook takes bishop. So you go here, check here, and it's about equal. And think somewhere I put a diagram here. I've got to put a diagram back again. I'm going to call this I don't want to say the main line. Right, that's that. Okay, so what happened was he played bishop f4. So wait a minute, sorry. So he played bishop f4. Bishop b2 is the point. And this is not that bad. I mean, I could imagine thinking this was okay. And the problem, if the pawn was in g2, it would be absolutely fine for white. But with the white square still a mess, it's not very, I would think it would be all right anyway. And he didn't do it particularly well. I think he missed something. Oh, he missed bishop b5. This rather clever idea, after which you get more control. But I mean, okay, white did something a bit. This is a mistake, I think, isn't it? Knight c4 was a better chance, yes. And after this, black actually did get control. Now this is really awful for white. Oh, just horrible. f6 is a good move. I'll put another diagram here. Yep, have another diagram here. f6. f6, sorry. So you give the check first. Got to give up the rook. And yes, you've got a bishop and knight, and you have still got the passed a pawn. But frankly, you haven't got much chance here because there's no sort of blockade, and you know, it's all just too much. And what actually happened was that, I don't know if knight to there was the only move. Is he actually in Zugzwang at this point? He must be close, mustn't he? No, king h1 might have been. Who knows, anyway. Yeah, and he... Because you can't take him b4, of course, because of queen b6 check. Otherwise, you'd have to win the ending, there you would be. Right, that was that. And then I thought I'd show you my game with Humpy, because it's, again, a queens and bishops thing. I mean, I wrote some opening notes myself 23 years ago. I'm sure they're complete crap now. And the question was, what is the point of bishop a3, knight b4? And the answer is that the knight now isn't protecting the pawn, so I can do this, which is really fun. And it's extremely dangerous now. Bishop takes, knight takes d3, takes, knight e1, queen h6, pawn takes knight, queen takes rook check. Splat! So that's not really to be considered. So she took twice and I went bishop b2, and that's the point. I've given up a piece to open the diagonal, and because she's played h5, her king is in serious trouble. There are lots of variations. Queen d6, I think. You can play through the variations if you like. I think that there's some... Oh yes, she should have gone f6 here, it's best. And the line I gave is g4. It's a very brutal line, isn't it? This is my analysis from... is this plus minus? I assume it is. Bishop A1. Split. Let's just check. Are you going to... have we got another one? No, we haven't got another one open, so it should. So we should be able to open our engine. Hello, great engine. Are you going to open for me? No? I mean, have I got another one open? I haven't, have I? I don't see why I can't just open this default kibitzer. Default kibitzer. Yeah, I don't know why Alt F2 wasn't working. Maybe I was pressing the wrong button. Quite possible, and it just says, no, it doesn't like. Is this really a line? That's really what I should do. I think there was some F6. And what should I do? I should go G4. Let's promote this variation, shall we? That's what I should do. Okay. This is also unclear. Oh no, I should play bishop f7 check now, shouldn't I? Sorry, because I hadn't cleaned this up properly, because I wasn't really... And now it's winning, I think. Yeah, now I can just do this. Okay, let's save this. And so actually what happened was, you should have tried f6. There's a vast amount of analysis which may or may not be correct there. I'm sorry, there's so much of it. Knight f6 was pretty hopeless. c5 hits the queen. Queen b7, they just queen a6, there'd be bishop b7, so she goes back, and then I go here. She tried queen d7. I'm threatening to play rook f5. I don't know why I didn't go rook d3. Knight d3, rook d1. Queen c8, just take. And knight takes b2, I'm winning. And here, after queen d7, the best move of all is rook e8, which I missed. Which is a terrible thing. I mean, not a terrible thing, just a slight shame, given I really like this game. Rook e8, followed by bishop f6 and resigns. I went bishop e4, which is absolutely winning as well, because if takes, there's rook h5. And she went there, and I took, check here, and took. And she resigned, because my bishops are doing rather bad things to her. So, I mean, I was pleased with this game at the time. I don't know if it's one of my best games ever. It's certainly one of my better games. So there we are. So the two bishops can do awful things, and so can rooks and rook endings. I hope you've enjoyed this. I have no idea. I'm just going to check what the date will be next month. It will presumably be the 7th, won't it? Because the 31st is a Sunday this month, which I suppose if I'd added 28 to 3, I could have ascertained without checking. So I will see you on the 7th of September. I'm checking again that my thing is running, which it is, because otherwise there would be many screams. But without a recording, nobody could hear you scream. In this case, they can. Okay, see you next week then, next month. Cheers.